So when we set out to continue our mission, in spite of these situations, it became evident that we needed to partner with like-hearted individuals that wanted to find ways to help bridge the gap over these uncharted waters. And so we were blessed and fortunate to build a partnership with a young man that is just that. Jason Wessler, you're a former national FFA advisor, a motivational speaker, and a leadership coach. Was a blessing to us, and he hopefully will be a blessing to you as he brings you episode 1 in the FFA chapter Toolbox. And with no further ado, I give you Jason Wessler.
Well, hey, thanks so much, Justin. I appreciate that. I am ecstatic just to be looking at people. I think my dog is about to kick me out of the house. She is tired of me. So I'm just really excited to be engaging with you guys today. This is going to be a very short 42 minutes left, and so I know that my attention span doesn't quite last that long, but I'm hoping to keep you guys entertained, engaged, and informed for the next 42 minutes. Just so you know, couple quick notes. We are recording this, and so you will be the live audience that the thousands of other people that watch this afterwards will be see. So anything you do and say is permanent record. So just know that. So if this is awful, just insult me privately in a message instead of publicly. So I'm Jason. I'm a former National FFA officer. My mom's an ag teacher. I'm actually in her classroom. I thought, what better place to do this than my mom's ag classroom? And so if I showed you around here, she's actually just working with one of her students on an FNRL speech. Now she's out trying to run a greenhouse plant sale by herself, which she's been doing because students aren't allowed on the school farm. So it's a crazy time, y'all. But that actually is kind of what motivated us to do this today. So today, all you'll need is maybe a pen and a paper, and then some phone and internet. All the resources and materials that you're viewing today will be available to you for download afterwards. I've created some teacher resources as well. But before we get started, I kind of want to know who we're dealing with today. So in the chat box, just go ahead and drop your name and then maybe what you do. If you're a chapter officer, chapter leader, you're an advisor, you're just an alumni, you don't even know what FFA is, you just somehow found this link, welcome. Just go ahead and drop your name and what you do. We'll give you everyone about 30 seconds to do that. Hey, Taylor, welcome. You also are the fastest typer. Congratulations. Whitney, welcome. Ms. Landman. Hello, Olivia. Hello, Caden. Hello, Ms. Throne. Welcome, everyone. And we have some more and more people coming in. I love it. Detroit, Texas. Oh, Paris, Texas. I have a buddy from Paris, Texas. I've been to y'all's feed mill. Welcome, Mr. Tucker. Well, as those names and titles keep rolling in, I'm gonna kind of jump into what we're doing today. And as I do that, I'm gonna share my screen with you. So let me do that really quick preview. So hopefully everyone can see that preview. It says Chapter Officer Toolbox. Open the chat as well so I can keep up with that. Now, as we go through this, feel free to tell me. Keep me updated in the chat what you can and can't see if something needs to be bigger, but this is what we're doing. So the first thing I want to talk about is why we're here. So continuing that chat, let's just go ahead and take some time and answer this question. Why do we lead? So if you're an advisor, you're a leader of your chapter. If you're a chapter officer, you're a leader in your chapter. So I want to know why. Why did you become an advisor? Why did you become a chapter? In a few words, answer that question in the chat, and let's have a quick discussion about it best we can. So again, in the chat box, just answering that question, why do we lead? Why do you specifically lead? I like that, Anna. Thank you for that answer. to give back and impact ag ed in my county, state, and nationally. Bridge a gap of knowledge. I like it. I like it. Awesome. Levi, I see your answer, and I really like it. Would you mind unmuting yourself and just elaborating a little bit on your answer, Levi Morrow?
All right. So I guess for me, the exciting part was just to be a part of agriculture. I love the industry. I love being a part of it, have been a part of it my entire life. And so when I saw an opportunity to grow young individuals as an advisor and to help shape those young individuals and to further the education and the industry, that's why I'm doing it.
Absolutely. I really appreciate that. As I look at the answers, I think there's a common thread we can weave through these. And to me, the reason that most people step into a leadership position or sacrifice their time to help lead others is because they are serving those individuals. And so why do we lead? Well, we lead to serve. And here's what we're going to do, folks. For me, I wanted to make sure that I was providing something of value to you as ag teachers, to you as students in the FFA. And so every time that we have one of these episodes, these webinars, these seminars, whatever you want to call them, we're going to make sure we follow this framework. And now the content will be different, but the framework will be the same. So we lead to serve, okay? Well, how do we serve? We serve by engaging other people. Now, engagement is the topic of today. And so we can serve people in a lot of different ways. We can serve by teaching them. We can serve by giving them our time. But in this instance, we're going to talk about engagement. So we serve by engaging them. We engage others. Well, how do we engage them? We engage others by meeting the needs of other people. So by meeting other people's needs, which you talked about, whether that's a need for knowledge, whether that's a need just for something positive to do, we engage them by meeting their needs. And kind of the crux of it, where it meets in the middle, is by meeting the needs of others, we're fulfilling the mission of the FFA: Premier Leadership, Personal Growth, and Career Success through Agriculture Education. By meeting the needs of those people that we're serving, we fulfill that mission. And it's my belief that anything we do in the FFA, as ag teachers, as student leaders, as whoever, it should be able to be tied back to the mission. And if it can't be tied back to furthering the mission, then we shouldn't be spending time on it. Just my belief. Okay, so that's kind of how we do it. Now, what's the result of that? Well, going back down the other side, the result is when we meet the needs of others, we're engaging those people, right? When we engage them, we serve them. And by serving, we're answering that question of why. When we serve, we fulfill our why. Our purpose for being here is fulfilled by serving other people. So that's kind of our framework for why we're here today. And I'm rushing a little bit because we have a lot of great content I want to get through. But I want to make sure that we're kind of underlying this content with the mission of FFA, that this is not just to fill another 45 minutes. It's not just to do another Zoom meeting. Lord knows we need another one of those, right? This is furthering the mission of FFA, furthering the mission of my business, Jason Wetzel Leadership, and the mission of Bloom as well. So with that said, the first thing we're going to talk about as far as engagement is really what that looks like and the core human need of connection. Now, as I started researching for this and what content I wanted to deliver, I think it's important to establish what connection is and how important it is for human beings. So I found 5 different phrases, 5 different statements that kind of support that, all backed in research and psychology. So the first one kind of goes along with a story. Ag teachers, you may remember this example. There's this organization, Drug Free America. I'm not sure if they're still running commercials or not, but they ran these commercials throughout the 70s, 80s, and 90s that became pretty famous. And there's one that actually kind of took the cake as far as like infamy, right? And it was about this study called the rat study. And basically a pretty simple experiment that went on. They put a rat in a cage alone with 2 water bottles. Now, one of the water bottles was just plain water. The other water bottle, though, was laced with drugs. And so the study in this lab was that every time they ran this experiment, they found that the rat would become obsessed with the drug water and then went back for it more and more and more until I mean, essentially it died. And so that was the study that this commercial was based off of. In the commercial, it was like, only one drug is so addictive. 9 out of 10 lab rats will use it and use it until they die. And it was super dramatic and ridiculous. So this other researcher, though, he saw this commercial and he thought, there's something interesting about this other experiment, this commercial that went on. Every time they put a rat in a cage, that rat was the only rat. It was alone. There was nothing else for it to do except for engage with that water. And so in the 1970s, a professor of psychology named Bruce Alexander designed this other experiment. He created something called Rat Park. Essentially, it had all these colored balls, the best rat food, tunnels to scamper down, and plenty of friends. Everything a rat town could want, right? And what he found is that in Rat Park, all the rats still tried both water bottles, both the plain water and the drugged water. However, when a rat had community, it had connection, it actually did not become addicted to the water. So, what we learned from that, ladies and gentlemen, is that the opposite of addiction is connection. There's actually been studies to support that. Okay? Now, bear with me because all this ties in at the end. The opposite of addiction is connection. Okay? The second study we'll look at is actually this study that was ran on 44,000 people from 44 countries all over the world. And they were studying participants that were at risk of heart disease. But the experiment wasn't about heart disease. What they were actually looking at was their social lives. And they found those that lived alone were 24% higher risk of passing away due to heart disease. Okay? So what do we find because of that? Well, people who live alone have a 24% higher risk of passing away, okay? There's some other studies that happen, and these go quicker. We learned that when we experience a sense of connection, it improves our motivation, health, and happiness. There's hundreds of studies that support this, okay? A sense of belonging helps give a sense of meaning to our lives. We know that. And finally, cultures that are communal in nature have lower rates of mental health diagnoses. Okay, so why am I telling you all this? Well, I think it's important that we establish a baseline connection, a baseline understanding that connection is a core human need. And as servants, either to our chapter, to our members, our responsibility is to help meet that need of connection, is to engage them. Now, someone asked me actually when I was developing this, Jason, hey, how'd you choose engagement or connection as the topic you wanted to focus on first? Well, actually, I kind of look back at my own experience in FFA, and I talked to my mom, and I asked some other people, some other ag teacher friends, and said, we make all this progress throughout the year as an FFA chapter. Advisors, what I'm talking about. You grow so much as a chapter, you start doing all these things, and then state convention happens, and then maybe summer happens, and depends on your state and where you're at. And those that have livestock maybe remain engaged, and maybe some that go to camp remain engaged, and maybe the 1 or 2 students that go to WLC. However, for the majority of the students in the ag ed classroom, the momentum kind of stops. Things don't continue. And so how do we make sure that we're engaging those individuals, and by engaging, I mean meeting their need of connection throughout the summertime? That way we can continue that momentum through the next year. So that's what this is all about. So quick question for y'all. Let's go ahead and answer this in the chat if you'd like. When is a time that someone met your need of connection? What impact did it have on your life? I actually saw some good examples of this on the why do you teach or why do you lead? But let's go ahead and answer that question. When's a time that someone met your need of connection? What impact did it have on your life? I'll give you about a minute to do that. Feel free to throw those answers in the chat when you got them. Thanks, Taylor. Awesome. Love that. Man, Caden, when you said my friends first sat on a table and asked me how my day was going, Such a small thing, so powerful. I love it. Huge impact. Yeah, decided your career choice, right? Like what you do on a day-to-day basis. Thanks, Ms. Cannon. I'll share a quick story as we keep getting answers coming in. I was actually in North Carolina during my year as a National FFA officer, and it was during an off time, but I lived in Oregon, and so I had 3 days off. Instead of flying all the way home and flying all the way back, I decided, you know what, I'll just stay here. And I was actually at my hotel, and I called a taxi. This is actually before Uber. I know it sounds crazy, but called a taxi, and this guy shows up, and he drove me to this mall that I was going to get some shoes at, and on the way there, he was listening to Christian music, and he asked me, he said, are you Christian? I said, yes, sir. And he said, okay, well, would you want to go to church with me tomorrow? My taxi driver, out of nowhere, right? And something maybe we don't talk about a lot as National FA officers. I mean, you're alone a lot of the time. I mean, yeah, you're with people a lot, but I was alone a lot of the time. So I definitely had a need for connection. And it was insane. The next morning, I woke up, and he, in the same van, in his taxi van, drove me to church with him. And it was really small, but it's an experience I'll never, ever, ever forget. Someone just reaching out and meeting that need of connection for me. Huge impact on my life. Take a leadership class in college. It was an excellent class where I networked with other ag managers and I was able to make connections for my FA program. Love that. Awesome. All right, quick activity. So that kind of wraps up the framework for what we're doing. We have the understanding the basic need of connection human beings have. We know that there's members in our chapter that throughout the summer months are not having that need being met. So FFA, ag teachers, chapter leaders, it's our job to meet that need. So how do we do that? Well, the rest of our time, the next 25 minutes is going to be spent talking about some tools, some practical things you can do, implement today with your chapter officers, with yourself, whatever, to meet those needs of connection. So first things first, let's do this. Quick activity on your phone. Pull out your phone, choose one of the 3 accounts on Instagram or Facebook, Sports Center, Chick-fil-A, or Bob Golf. And go ahead and take notes on the following. Just 2-minute activity. Is there a general theme to their page? How often are they posting, like per week? And what are their posts about? Okay? Phone, Instagram, Facebook, whatever you got, Twitter. Okay? MySpace. If you're on MySpace right now, bless your heart. Okay? Do it, though. Sports Center, Chick-fil-A, Bob Goff. Choose one of the accounts, answer the 3 questions. We'll get ready to talk about it. I wonder if Chick-fil-A's got a MySpace. They would. They're pretty hip. It's like the cool thing to do now. Take just a minute, glance at that page. Once you've kind of got a general theme, you don't have to write a whole bunch. Once you've kind of got a general answer for these, and you're willing to share, type "pick me" into the chat box. If you're willing to talk about what you found, just type "pick me" into the chat box. All right, Miss Shelly Armour, I saw you first. Go ahead and unmute yourself, and let's talk about what account you chose and what you found there.
Hey, y'all. I did Bob Golf. And his Instagram is a lot of humor and motivation, engagement. And then, of course, he's a presenter and writes books, so he's got some of that in there. He has a few interactive videos that do announcements for his book, or so it looks like he interviews people and posts about them. That's mostly it. It's very uplifting.
Yeah. Okay, let's do one more. Let's do Cameron and Caden Albers. Y'all must be related. I don't want to start a household fight here, but I'm gonna pick Caden. Caden Albers. Go ahead and unmute yourself and share.
First off, yes, we are related.
Are y'all on computers in the same house right next to each other?
Yes. Yep.
That's hilarious. Nice. Love it. All right, Caden, hit us.
I did Chick-fil-A, and yes, there is I did Sports Center, my bad. And yes, there is a general theme to it. They post daily, and they do a whole lot of sports talks and bloopers of games.
Love it. Awesome. So they post daily. Okay. All right. So let me ask you guys this real quick. Same piece of paper. Write down the 3 most important people in your life. Just right off the top of your head. 3 most important people in your life. Okay. Now, next to those people, write down per week how often you talk to those people. Okay. Now, let me ask you this. What happened if you would only talk to them once a month? What about once every 2 weeks? What about even once a week? If you only communicated with the 3 most important people in your life once a week? Yeah, I kind of thought through this example with my fiance, Jonelle, and I thought, man, if I only talked to her once a week, she wouldn't be very engaged, would she? It's because we're engaged. All right. So it's hard to know if your jokes land virtually, but I'm gonna assume that everyone is just dying right now because I laughed very hard. What we're trying to figure out. Thank you. Jonelle did not approve of that joke. Thank you, Jesse. So what we're trying to get to is that consistency matters. And so the first thing we're going to talk about, practical tools to connect and engage your members throughout the summer, is our social media. Now, across the board, our chapters probably have a variety of social media platforms. I'm going to be focusing on 2 main ones today, Instagram and Facebook, and some others as well, but Instagram and Facebook mainly. And kind of what I want to talk about first is connecting consistently is one of the most important things we can do. So here's a little chart I use. So you ask yourself, how often are you connecting? Okay, connecting requires consistency. Above all else, you've got to be consistent, right? So Instagram, now this is general, right? This is like maybe a personal thing. So maybe for your chapter, it's not exactly right. You may fudge some numbers here, but you should be posting 4 to 6 posts a week and at least 1 story a day. Facebook, 3 posts a week, 1 story a day. Twitter, at least 1 tweet a day. The internet said 15 tweets a day, but I know a lot of us don't have full-time people hired to tweet for us, so that's ridiculous in my opinion. 5 to 7 retweets a week. So 5 things that are also in line with your chapter's brand or what your chapter's doing, retweet that, or maybe retweet some of your chapter members. And then if you have a YouTube channel, I know some chapters do, 2 a month or as many quality videos as you can. That's more quality over quantity. But the other ones, really, we just want to make sure that we've been engaging. And so how do we know how good of a job we've been doing? Well, I think there's a few things we can do. I'm going to give you guys some tips as we go along. Feel free to write these down. And again, these are going to be made available as resources at the end. So if you don't want to write them down, no worries. You'll get PDF downloads coming soon in that Chapter Toolbox webpage. Okay. So some of the things we got to remember is connecting requires consistency. How often are you connecting? Okay. Another one we can talk about is a social media calendar. Okay. This is a very, very bland example I made on Canva. This is not what the actual calendar would look like, but these are the things we would include in our calendar. By the way, if you between a story and a post, thanks, Shelly. So a story, oh, there you go. Stories are 24-hour things, right? And so you create a story and it goes away in 24 hours. A post is just on your main feed on your account. Okay. So stories, maybe highlighting one of your posts. It may be, yep, there you go. Okay. So a calendar is something I use for my business to schedule posts. And so, this is just week 1, Monday. This is for 1 day, what you're looking at. You'll have the social network, the date, what it is, the time you're going to post, maybe 7 a.m., noon, 5 p.m., the content type, the topic you're covering, the caption, proposed caption, the link to whatever that content is, and then notes for yourself. Again, I'm going to be sending you an Excel spreadsheet that has this fillable, and so you can, feel free to just use this as kind of a little example. But a social media calendar is something we should definitely be using. All right, we're going to be moving quick to make sure we get through everything. Also, thanks, Shelly, for answering that question, modeling that. If you guys have any questions at all, feel free to bump in the chat box there. Okay. Some other pro tips, and we'll cover these really quickly. A lot of chapters have what they call a social media manager. And I'm not saying make it a full-time officer position, but maybe it's your reporter. Maybe it's something, where your president does it for a month and maybe someone else does it, right? Whoever the manager is for your social media, that way someone's accountable to making sure that consistency happens. When you say our chapter has a social media and everyone's in charge of it, well, that becomes really hard because no one's really taking responsibility, right? So have a social media manager plugged in for a certain amount of time. Maybe it's just a week at a time, and you rotate every 6 weeks. You get a week of that social media management as an officer. Whatever it is for your chapter, I think having a social media manager is extremely important to the success of your chapter's social media. And remember, all this goes back to keeping our members connected and engaged. Okay. Hootsuite, something I found out. Hootsuite actually offers nonprofit education accounts for $5 a month. Okay, I know that none of us are in the ag ed game to get rich, but $5 a month to make our lives a lot easier is awesome. What is Hootsuite? Hootsuite combines all of your social media content into one place. So you just have to post one time and it sends it out on all your platforms. It's a really good manager for collecting a lot of information and getting information out to multiple sources. Okay. The next thing, and this one's up to you guys, a chapter contract. I think this one is tough. I'm not providing an example of this because it's so chapter dependent and so dependent on, school district guidelines. Are you allowed to have, certain platforms? Are you not allowed to have certain platforms? But I think this just says, hey, the content we're posting is going to reflect the values the FFA has, not necessarily the values the personal officer has or the personal advisor has. It's going to reflect the values of the chapter, if that makes sense. So you look at your chapter bylaws, and I think you write that based off of that. That's an important distinction, especially in different parts of the world, because your school probably has different rules, guidelines than maybe you personally might in some areas, and it's important to separate those on your chapter social media account. Okay. And then finally, Canva. So what I created this slideshow on is actually Canva, but they have hundreds and thousands of templates. I think it's like, actually, it's for if you're just, a person like me, it's like $120 a year for the pro version, but it's free for educators. So yeah, I love Canva too. It's free for educators. If you're paying for it and you're in education, stop. Don't do it. Don't pay. Go to, and I'm including that link at the bottom of this slideshow that'll be sent out to you guys that has the education application. Just take a quick application, they'll review it, and you get it for free. Pretty awesome. So those are kind of my social media tips. And the last thing I kind of want to touch on, my good buddy Reagan Pugh, he's a speaker out of Austin, not an FFA guy. Well, let's do this first. Content ideas. These are just some things that I've seen chapters doing that are really awesome, and I want to share them with you guys. So it's not about gaining a following. It's about connecting with the following you already have. The goal for your chapter pages should not be 10 million followers, right? 10,000 followers, whatever. The goal should be connecting with the members that are following it, okay? This is an avenue for your members and the people that are involved in your chapter to engage with you when in-person events aren't available, or to have something to look forward to, and we'll talk about that in a second. So member profiles, member shout-outs. Again, I'm going to give you guys this list, so feel free. We actually, my mom's chapter, something we're about to do, they usually do kindergarten tours where kindergartners come to the land lab, the farm here, and take a tour. We can't do that, and so my fiance and I are actually going to be creating a fun video virtual tour of the farm. So I've seen that been done. It's going to be a lot of fun. Any questions about this? Any other suggestions that you guys have used as far as content? Throw them in the chat. Finally, my buddy Reagan, and I'd love if you guys gave him a follow and supported him on Instagram. He always says it's not about going viral, it's about adding value. Okay? If every time you post you think, man, I wonder how many likes this is going to get. Man, I wonder how many engagements this is going to get. Is this going to boost my numbers? You got the wrong mindset. It's about adding value to the people that are following your page. Add value to those lives, connect with them, make them feel engaged, and you're doing your job. All right, last thing. We were going to do this during this call, but I just don't think we're going to have time. So I'm going to show you guys what it is. And again, this is a resource I'm sending out. And so don't worry about taking too big of notes on this. is a social media audit. Okay, so what does this look like? I've done this before, and it's really helpful for me to understand where I'm at. So, if you have a business account, which are free for Instagram and Facebook, go ahead and create those for your chapter, and then you get a lot more numbers and understand what works. So are videos more engaging for my audience? Are contests more engaging? How are my giveaways doing? But you can conduct an audit, and essentially what that means is you add your social network there, how many followers you got, how often are you posting? I think it's interesting for chapters to look back at their Instagram and be like, oh man, we haven't posted since March 2017. That's not good. That chapter officer is like almost a veterinarian now. So, it's I think it's an important thing to do. How frequently are you posting? Who's your manager of the channel? So who has those passwords? My mom just walked out, so I can say this, but she didn't even know what the password was because the person who had it graduated. So having a place where those passwords are kept. Is it a business page? If not, make it one. It's free. What are your demographics? What ages are you engaging with? Who's engaging with most? What's your top content? And how can you improve it? You'll be getting an Excel spreadsheet that has all of this on there, and it's a lot more fillable. So, all right, quick, fun challenge. First people to unscramble each phrase win. You guys, you can just say, first phrase, here's the answer. Second phrase, here's the answer. The white letters underneath the lines match the words. Go ahead and go do that now. Puzzle time. Cameron, I think Cameron just got the last one. Nice job. Nice job. Number 5 is finished. Still looking at the top 4 lines. Educate about change. Yes, absolutely. Humanize your chapter. Love it. Those ones came in right at the same time. Good job, Taylor and Catherine. All right, just have a few more left. We have number 3 and number 4 not finished. I used a word scrambler online to make this, and I just chose the craziest looking one. Assure stability. Yep. All right, just number 4 left. Who's going to get it? I don't think we have it yet. I'll give you a hint. The first word of number 4 starts with an R. I love the looks of concentration on some of these people's faces. It's awesome. All right, I'm going to give 10 seconds, so we're going to move on. And I'll tell you all the answer. 3. Oh, snap. Yes. Just in the nick of time, Taylor Walton. Revolutionize offerings. Good job. Nice work. Ladies and gentlemen, after we've mastered the art of consistently connecting with individuals, we've got to give them something to look forward to. I don't know about y'all, but my heart is completely broken for the events that have canceled for the next 6 months, and hopefully no longer after that. My job is 95% based on in-person gatherings. And when they canceled, conferences, parties, friendship, like that really affected what I do. And it really kind of, for a while, for about a week, I was like, man, there's nothing to look forward to. It's not true. There are things to look forward to. But we as chapter leaders, to be able to connect and engage our members, have to communicate consistently. We also have to give them something to look forward to. This is what we call the HEART framework, okay? So humanize your chapter, educate about change, assure stability, revolutionize your offerings, and tackle the future. This actually comes from a Harvard Business Review, and it's for organizations, but I think it completely applies to us as leaders in our chapter. During a time of uncertainty, during a time like this, following this framework can help meet the need of connection for our members, okay? We humanize, right? We say, hey, we understand what you're going through. We empathize with you. We're here for you. As teachers, we've been tasked in doing this virtually, and I know it's not the same as in person, but it's just as important. We educate about change. Here's what's happening. Here's what's not happening. Here's what it looks like now. Here's what a contest looks like. Here's how you do poultry judging without touching chickens. It's crazy. Okay. We assure stability. We say, hey, things are going to be back to normal. We revolutionize. That's what this is right here. This seminar, this episode right now, we've revolutionized our offerings. We can't do it in person. We're going to give it to you anyways. And then we tackle the future. We plow on. The result of this, in my mind, looks like an event. Nothing gets me more excited. Nothing gets other people more excited than in-person events. And I'll give you guys a quick story. I'm a young life leader in my local community, and we haven't had events, in-person events. We used to meet weekly, and we can't do that anymore in months. And over some group texts, we found that there's one kid who's taking it particularly tough. And so we decided we're going to do a in-person social distancing party for him. So what we did is his parents bought a food truck for his house, and they did boxed meals. And then we all went and stood in his neighborhood, like 10 feet apart from each other, eating our boxed meals. And this kid was never seen someone more happier. And the coolest thing was no one was on their phone. No one was looking down. No one was alone. Everyone was engaging and connecting because we crave in-person offerings. We crave events. We need something to look forward to. So as a chapter, we're going to give people something to look forward to. Quick question, and I want to talk about this via voice. How many people have ever tried to describe to someone what the FFA is, and how did that didn't know, and how did that go? Whoever would like to share, just go ahead and unmute yourself, and let's talk about it.
Well, we do it all the time as advisors, and sometimes it goes really well, and sometimes it falls flat, and they just kind of walk away with a brochure or whatever, and don't get it. The hardest is probably when we're trying to talk to somebody who already has an image they think is right, but it's not right. And depending on the generation you're talking to, depends on how you present it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Who else? Who else has tried to describe all the FFA does and what happened?
I think one of the... Oh. Is someone going? Sorry.
Go ahead.
I think one of the funny things when you're explaining what the FFA is people still believe it's just Future Farmers of America. They don't understand that, we're providing the next generation of, scientists, food scientists, veterinarians, teachers, engineers, welders, nurses. We're developing kids to go anywhere in the world. It's not just about farming. It's about agriculture as a whole, environmental science, and preparing them to be global leaders. Absolutely. So it's really important to, convey that message to parents, administration, and supporters of our chapter.
Absolutely. And I think the reality is when we begin to explain FFA, it gets complicated quickly because we're like, well, okay, so we have this classroom aspect, right? And that's a circle. And they're like, well, why is it a circle? Like, we don't know. It's just a circle. It could have been triangles, but we chose circles. And there's also this ag aspect. Well, it's like SAEs. You're like, what's SAEs? Like, don't worry about it. Come and go to the fair. So it just gets insane quickly, right? And so I think what FFA offers that explains what we do are our conferences, our events, anytime where Blue Jackets gather and people are like, oh, that's why, every ag teacher has a mission to bring their principal to national convention, right? Like, I know I will get all the support in the world if you just come to national convention. When we see these events, it explains what we do and it engages people in a way that we can't do in our own words. And so I think that's the way that we revolutionize our offerings. This framework to me culminates in the R, revolutionize offerings. And in the next 3 minutes, I'm going to try to get through this. So if I talk really fast like I have been, that's why. So when planning an event, whether it's virtual whether it's in person, if you're allowed to have 50 people or less, or as many as you want. I think you have 3 questions you have to answer. Okay, the 3 questions to answer in an event. What are the goals? So what's the result? What do people get for coming? They're sacrificing their time, maybe a little fuel. Okay, what do they get for coming? What's the benefit? And how do you know it's successful? So when we did this, it was successful. Is it a certain number of people? Is it an experience people had? Is it because there was live music and great food? What is it? Okay, the W's, who, what, when, and where. We know those are the basics. And then how do people find out about it? And that can go back to consistently communicating via our page. And I'm sorry, I didn't actually update this slide down at the bottom. Sorry about that. I should say Bloom. So again, when planning an event, we answer those 3 questions. Again, this will be on the things we send you, so I'm going to move right on. Here's some event ideas I've seen that are possible right now, no matter where you're at in the world. Do a fun run. You can run 6 feet apart from somewhere else. Do a community service event, a virtual field trip. Do a t-shirt design competition for your chapter and have people draw designs and send them in. Do a parking lot meal just like we did with my friend on his birthday. Rent a food truck and have him, box the meals. Do a water balloon fight from your own car. Everyone brings their own balloons, hucks balloons at each other. That's a lot of fun. You can even do that to people that are not suspecting it. That'd be hilarious in my opinion for one side of the party. Random acts of kindness, a letter drive for local hospitals, a drive-by parade, parking lot dance party, book and movie club. Give your members something to look forward to that will bridge the gap between school ending and starting again. Things will go back to normal. But in the meantime, we've got to have something to look forward to connect. Ladies and gentlemen, in respect to your time, we're going to wrap up. Stay connected with us. Here's our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Feel free to give us a follow, give us a shout out, what you're doing to connect consistently and giving your members something to look forward to. If you like this, we're going to be doing more of these episodes, hopefully once a month. So feel free to follow the Bloom Chapter Challenge, FFA Chapter Challenge on Facebook for that information. We're going to be developing more content for that. And yeah, we just really hope that you guys, this was helpful and useful for you. Any feedback is awesome. And also, if you have ideas for content that you're missing for your chapter leaders, send them my way so we can develop it. If you have a need in your chapter, like, hey, we really need to do this or cover this, send them my way. With that, I'm going to be sending this out. These all have links attached to them, like I said. So we'll do that. But again, give us a follow. Justin, you're going to wrap us up in our last minute.
Oh, man, you got me down to a minute. All right. Well, thank you, Jason. That was awesome. There was a ton of content there, and I can see a jillion ways that this stuff could be useful for your chapter. Thank you for doing this. We look forward to this. We will be sharing all this content with you on our webpage. If you'll go to bloomforgood.com/chapter toolbox, that's where the resources will be. We'll be sharing out via, I'm assuming, email that we'll share the link for the video or the webinar that you can share with your chapter at a later point, and you'll be able to access the resources. Please follow us on all of our social media sites. You can access those through our webpage, but just search the FFA Chapter Challenge by Bloom, and we're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and share us with your friends. We want to fill these webinars up. If we have to figure out another way to get all this content to every advisor in the country, we will. But in the meantime, share us. Share with your friends. If you saw something good today, let's talk about it. And if you have questions, if you have things you want to share with us, you're welcome to email me at justins@bloomforgood.com. And we thank you for your time. Good luck. We miss you all, and we can't wait to see you again.
Absolutely. And as we're ending up, guys, I know there's a lot of people still with us. If you guys have any questions and you want to stay on, I got nothing to do. So I got about 15 minutes. I can hang out for Q&A. Feel free to mute yourself or shoot a question in the chat. Would love to just chat with you. I know Justin and Jesse and Pete with Bloom are all here as well. So we'll stay on for any questions at this time. Taylor, I see your question. Feel free to shoot me a message on Instagram. We can talk about that. Any advice to prepare students for state office? Yeah, Shelby, Ms. Balin, how do you say your name? Oh, that's mispronounced the name. I do have some advice very quickly. The first thing I do when training state officer candidates or officer candidates of any level, really, or people for interviewing, is they've got to understand why they're running. And if you ask a student most times why they're running for something, or why they're doing something, they'll say to give back to the FFA or to serve people, and that's a great answer. But that's what everyone's going to say. And in my opinion, your why, your purpose in life, should be the same regardless if it's running for FFA office or whether it's pursuing, athletics, or whether it's helping out your family. And so your why is something that's innate. You're born with it, and there's probably moments early in your life that hint at that why, that purpose that helps you. So, for example, my why is to make the lives of other people better. When I was running for national office, I told the nominating committee, I would love to be a national officer. However, for me to fulfill my purpose and my why, you don't have to elect me, because I can do that at Oklahoma State. I can do that in Portland, Oregon. I can do that wherever. I love to do it in a blue jacket, but it's not necessary. So the first thing I would do when training officer candidates is have them establish their why that they're running, and make sure it's not because I love FFA, because that's not a reason, that's an outcome. Seeing students engage when the platform your school district allows. Twitter is not the one your students use. Yeah, that's tough. No, young people don't like Twitter. That's just not the cool thing. Do they? Let me ask this: does your school district have any policies on TikTok? Because if they don't, if they're kind of slow to the game, like some administrations can be sometimes, they may not have a TikTok policy. Use TikTok to get information out. You can only use Twitter. Yeah, that's tough. I'd say use it. And then as you, one thing you can do as the advisor, you can have your own personal account. And I mean, I don't know, this may be a loophole, maybe maybe telling you something that isn't good, but I would take screenshots of your tweets from your chapter account and post them on your personal account. I don't know if that's not allowed or not, but you can advertise on yours, and then your chapter officers also have personal accounts. Just in their bio, have them say chapter resource or chapter reporter for this. For chapter officer training. Okay. So maybe chapter officer training should be a topic, like leadership training should be a topic that we cover. Yeah, for sure.
I'm getting some yeses.
Okay.
I think it would be a good one.
Okay. Yeah, that's 45-minute chapter officer training. Easy peasy.
Well, I sat through officer interviews today, and I love listening to these kids talk, but there definitely needs to be they could benefit from it.
Absolutely. Okay, yeah, we can talk about that a little bit. Any big need you see in the chapter officers as far as like what area of training? Is it email communication? Is it simply team conflict resolution? Is it public speaking skills? Like what specifically? Because there's a lot we could talk about. Planning with follow through, big picture. Chapter officers, if you're still on here, what do you guys need? What's the big need in your chapter, do you think?
There's a big one Shelby had. Team conflict.
Responsibility. Okay. Big ones. Yeah. Okay. I'm taking notes. I'm capturing. I'm just going to take a picture of this conversation.
That might be like a 2 or 3 part series right there.
Yep. Awesome. What other questions we got? Alongside your officers. Okay. Yeah. So I think, Audrey, that part of that answer to get your chapter involved is that consistent communication. I think oftentimes, I don't know, I can't remember the lifespan of an Instagram post, but in my mind, an Instagram post lasts like 14 seconds, right? So we have to be posting all the time to be in the mind of our chapter members. We've got to be consistent with that communication, and that will drive engagement with them. They'll be asking you, hey, how do I go to those things? How do I get involved with that? And I think also summertime I was a livestock kid growing up, but there's not much else to do for a lot of chapter members besides livestock. And so those that don't show, we got to have an event for them to look forward to. We got to have something for them to be involved in that's not, on a farm or at a fair. And now even the livestock kids this summer are going to be looking for something. So Chapter needs, yeah. And another thing I've found, I think too, chapter events. Not everything's got to be a chapter banquet and a performance. Just bringing people together and having hot dogs, they will make the fun happen, right? You don't have to provide a script. You say, hey, we have an hour in this park. Everyone, bring a sandwich and we're going to hang out. Like that, they will have a good time and it'll give them something to look forward to. Branding even. Okay. So how do you brand? How do you do design? That'll be a tough one for me. I'm not super great at design, but there's some resources I can point you towards. Canva, I think, is a really good one for branding. It helps so much. So like a picture.
You can make your own logos in Canva now too, Jason, which I think would be really helpful. There's so many tools in Canva that are free and would be useful. So if anybody on here is not in Canva looking for branding, I would definitely start there.
Okay.
Jason, I don't mean branding like a logo. I mean, when my students think of D.H. Conley FFA, what are we? Like, what makes our chapter unique? And we find it out when we go to state stuff a lot. But even when we do, we have 4 chapters in our county, and they are very different from each other. So I think that's a great piece of marketing once you know what your chapter is and stands for. That would then help with engaging membership and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And communicating that.
Justin had told me once, what motivates them to sell Bloom cards? It's different with each chapter. Right.
Well, and I think too, in your bios or in your captions or whatever, if you have a sign off that's personal to you, every chapter is about the FFA mission, but a lot of chapters focus on different things. Like there's a chapter in Oregon in Paradale. They are a service chapter. Man, their Food for All challenge was invented by their old advisor. I mean, so that is like what they do. And so maybe in their bio, they'd be living to serve, right? And another chapter's bio would be communicating agriculture to everyone, whatever it is, right? So whatever your chapter focus is, I think that should be a part of your branding on your shirts. It should be on, So chapter connection to elementary, middle school kids. Again, that's pretty district by district. I think offering, whatever facilities you do have or whatever facilities you can create, if you got some local agriculturists in the community that can bring some baby animals and have a petting zoo day, again, doesn't have to be a big thing. Open it up for 4 hours. Let's say, hey, for 4 hours, we're allowing any elementary school kid in our district to come pet these animals and engage with our chapter members. Simple as that, right? My mom's chapter created something 2 years ago that blew up. It was crazy. We live in just outside of Portland, Oregon. They started something called Red Barn Baby Day. We have a big red barn on our farm, and they posted it once on Facebook and had 3,000 people RSVP. It was insane. Like, just offering things that you may not even know be popular, people are like, I'm about it. They actually got rained out. They had to reschedule, and they still had 800 moms and babies show up. Crazy, insane. So, anything you can do, just try it, and it'll blow up.
So, Jason, with that deal, were they taking pictures with their kids?
Yeah, some of them were, but they literally just opened up the land lab, our school farm, and said, hey, if you got a little kid, and they had chapter members with each of the set of animals, and they would just have hand sanitizer everywhere, which they would have had to double it now, but and just said, hey, if you want to take a picture, and the moms would just hold their phone up, and there's like a chubby baby next to a chubby pig, and it was adorable. It was awesome.
Yeah, you could probably get a photographer out there making a bank.
Oh yeah, I think a food truck heard about it and they wanted to show up. I mean, it's crazy. So, chapter officers start out with such passion, maybe lose the engagement. Yeah, so maybe I think Taylor, look at the timing of when you're doing like your retreats or the timing of when you're doing your chapter officer training. Is summertime is a lot of times when chapter officer retreats happen and we do training for chapter officers, but we provide them tools that they may not be using for the next 5 months and then they're forgotten about. So how can you invest in your chapter officers at an intentional time that they're able to use the tools you're giving them instead of saying, thank you so much, I'm going to go on my family vacation and forget everything you said, right? I think investing in people engages them. And so if you just, say, hey, we're going to have a quick 1 hour training on Saturday. Yeah. Any of the big questions before we jump? I'm going to do 3 more minutes, and then, again, feel free, y'all, to connect with us on our social media. I'll share that one more time just for you guys here. Follow Bloom for when these sessions are coming back out. Share with other people that it might be useful. We'd love to fill this up. We get 100 people max. But yeah, follow us, connect with us. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out with us. So those are our socials. We'll stop sharing now. Appreciate everyone being here. Very much so. Yes, and we'll be following up with you guys soon. Follow Bloom for the next event. Thank you guys very much. I'm going to end the meeting now. Again, feel free to reach out with any questions. Appreciate y'all's time, and thank you for doing what you do.
Thank you for joining us.
Bye, y'all.